Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. We move now to our emergency budget update for June, and welcome Tracy and Pramod.
That's great. Good morning through you, Madam Chair. So as you've pointed out, this is Tracy and I are here to present the latest emergency budget update, which covers the period up till the end of May. Before we kick off, I'll just like to introduce Tracy Zhu, who's a senior analyst in my team, and she'll be providing the update for this month.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Pramod. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tracy from the Group Financial Planning team, and I'll taking you through the update covering the May period, 2021. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so included in this month's update is our usual group performance dashboard, which provides an indication as to how we are performing against our revenue, expenditure, capex, as well as some of the key financial metrics, such as asset sales and savings. So as we reported on last month, we successfully achieved the 120 million savings target. Therefore, no further update has been included in this report. Consistent with the previous updates we provided, up to end of May, our group financial performance continuously tracked favorably to the emergency budget. Direct revenue remains favorable. This is mainly due to the higher revenue earned in regulatory and water care. Direct expenditure is also tracking favorably to budget. This is partly due to the delays in project, as well as just general effective cost management across the group. Capital expenditure is currently tracking below budget, and it is currently forecast that the full-year delivery for the group is around 90%. In-flight projects forecast not to be delivered in this financial year will be carried into the next financial year for completion. As for asset recycling, we've previously updated that the full target of 244 million will not be achieved in the current financial year. Despite the lower cash receipt from asset sales, the year-end financial position is still forecast to be better than the emergency budget projections. This is due to the favorable revenue performance as well as lower capital expenditure that I just described. This more favorable financial position provides a strong buffer against possible future shocks, especially considering the high degree of uncertainty surrounding the long-term revenue projections. So this is the end of the presentation. Pramod and I are happy to take questions. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So just to remind you, even though this is the June meeting, these are the results for the end of May, not end of year. I'm going to kick off with the first question to our Chief Financial Officer. Peter, even though we have met the budget target of 120 million for efficiencies and savings, could you please confirm that you are still looking to find further efficiencies and savings and not just stopping because budget has been reached?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair.
Realistic answer.
Yeah. Honestly, we always continue to look for efficiencies, and the phrase used within the report there was effective cost management. Our next financial year is starting in around 14 days, and we're committed within the recovery budget to achieving $90 million of savings and cost reductions within that year. So it would not make sense for us to actually take the foot off the pedal and not continue to look for savings, particularly to the extent that they're sustainable and ongoing. The extent to which we have further cost reductions over and above what has been signalled in May will come through in the year-end report as well.
Thank you very much. Couldn't help but answer that question. Any other questions? Councillor Henderson.
Yes, just about asset recycling. I wonder if we could just maybe get into a little bit more detail in terms of where we're at and where we're expecting to be.
I can
Ross
see Ross
is moving.
Ross has stood up. So
I should have let you know I was going to ask that, actually. Sorry.
I'll let Ross answer.
Yeah, through the chair. Yes, Ross was moving. His ears pricked up. Yeah. Good morning, councillors. So yes, we will not meet the target for asset recycling in the current financial year. But what we're saying is actually when we look at the first 3 years of the recovery budget and the current emergency budget over those 4 years, we're still comfortable we will get there, but the timing of the cash flows will be different. If we go back to the emergency budget, the asset recycling was split into two big areas: property and then the car park concessions. We have done a lot of work on the car park concessions, and we're looking to come and discuss with this committee sometime in the near future. Although we wanted to complete the discussions around downtown car park first, given the nature of that opportunity. So, and downtown car parks, a new opportunity we have added in, which is going to contribute significantly into the next financial year or the following financial year. So we're comfortable over time, but just the timing was difficult to forecast.
All right. Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Chair. Do we have an amount as to what could be favourable at the end of the emergency budget year?
In terms of revenue projections, and I think we've indicated this as part of our LTP workshops and the mayoral proposal as well, we had projected a revenue loss of around 450 million for this current year. The most recent projections are that that is likely to be about 250 million better than what was projected nearly 10 months ago. And that's, as Tracy pointed out, a large part of that is due to the regulatory revenue and IGC revenue from Watercare being much better than expected. And another significant part of that is the Waka Kotahi top-up of public transport revenue of around 130 million funding from them to support that piece as well.
Thank you. Supplementary Chair, look, I'm still getting calls, and I have no doubt that councillors and members of this committee are getting calls around the pressure still being applied to our staff that are currently employed. So this may be a question that we will end up discussing through a workshop instead of paying off debt, is to have a look at really reducing the work that our staff, and that's something that may come back hopefully through the CEO to either this committee or a workshop around doing that instead of paying down debt. So look, that may be a political discussion, but I'm just saying that at what stage will we have that discussion in regards to it? So I'll put that to it.
Thank you. I'll ask our CFO to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Filipaina. With your permission, I'll take that back to the CEO and work through the appropriate forum for that, which is likely to be a workshop and perhaps APR as well. And balancing of workload and well-being is, of course, something that the council is looking to be an exemplar in. We want to lead in that wellness space, so it's a point that is not lost on us.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked, and I know His Worship the Mayor's also has a comment, but Chair, that also flies in regards to what Councillor Hills has always advocated for during the discussions of this long-term plan around our debt ceiling and using that to end up sort of easing the pressure and everything else. So look, I just wanted to sort of table that because of the calls I'm getting. I have no doubt at all, like I said, Richard will be getting the same ones as well as others.
Yeah, I might just comment on that additional aspect of that. The degree to which the funding is available for the workforce is different from the debt ceiling. We shouldn't, in most cases, be using our debt to fund operational costs and aspects.
Yeah, just to clarify that, Peter, I wasn't implying that.
Okay, thank you.
What I was implying was that if we can alleviate the pressures that are on our staff currently as a result of the emergency budget, plus this recovery budget in the first 3 years, albeit the 5% that we will have one-off in the first year, is the reason why I'm mentioning this, and a discussion needs to be had at a political level. Kia ora.
Your Worship, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just a couple of points. Firstly, APR did look at the question of staff numbers for the forthcoming year, and it will be reporting back to the governing body in the near future on that. And clearly there will be some staffing adjustments. So things like the National Policy Statement on Urban Development, which is we're bound to because it's government policy, will require more staff to carry out that function. Climate change is another area, obviously. Our increased capital program will require more staff. And at the same time, we're being careful in how we spend that money. And while we've got that 250 million favourable this year, I think we've had the discussion many times over about the need to continue to have a buffer because we just don't know what's around the corner. We're in day 110 of being COVID-free. Fantastic news, but I can't tell you tomorrow we won't have a community outbreak and a lockdown. And that's the sort of world we live in. And so we need to err on the side of caution. And Councillor, I know that you appreciate that.
But I'll still be pushing for staff, Your Worship, just to have the last say, hopefully. But I'll still be pushing for
We've got your point,
to alleviate the pressures on our staff as a result of the emergency budget and the recovery budget, and that's the key issue for me. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you for that. Councillor Coombe? No. Councillor Cooper?
Thank you. It was just a follow-up on the comments about your comments about we're still looking for savings even though we've looked at met the targets. I suppose my question is, given we've had the comment here that we've still got to be careful around future shocks and we're already struggling with staffing and employing people and we do need more people, is your comment, are you meaning that we should just keep going saving money? Because I'm worried that doing that might mean we can't employ the people we need. We've got several departments that
I just want to
are
reiterate
struggling.
what our CFO said, and that is that the efficiencies and savings that we continue to find actually form the basis of the first year of the 90 million, all right? So it's not as if we're...
Of the next year, of this next financial
Yeah.
year.
I mean, that's what it's leading towards. You know, the whole 120 million, as we know, some have been one-offs, some have been things that we will never do again. Some have been things that
Yes,
will
we'll
go.
roll in.
And the extra, whilst it looks good for this year, the advantage will be start at a higher level for year one.
I know it's a comment, but I won't comment later. My concern is everybody says, oh, look, you know, we're saving all this, but we still need to carry on with our asset sale program because we can't put a lot more pressure on our debt. So
No, we get that.
Yeah,
We get
thank
that.
you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hills.
Thank you. Where was the debt to revenue sitting, do we know, at this point? Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I didn't know if I spoke through you.
So as we reported in the last month when we did the quarterly performance report update, the projections are that year end it will be around 270% or just below.
Thank you. And I know this is symptomatic every budget, and it's not anyone's particular's fault around the capital program. How can we? How far are we behind? And will we expect we're behind by end of year? Can you tell that at the moment?
So current indications are that actually at the end of May we were tracking about 95% of budget, so it's a little bit up on the previous month, and a little bit of that is with water care. They're making really good progress with the drought-related investment that they're making. Indications from other CCOs are between 90 to 95 as well. So there's a few things like land acquisitions and things like that if they do go through, then we might be a bit higher than 90, maybe closer to the 95, but we just have to wait and see for the next couple of weeks and see what the final result is. 90% on a 2.6 billion program for this year, given the COVID disruptions, though, I would say is still a pretty good result.
Thank you, Chair. The question I have, and it might not be for finance, is just how do we ensure, because we have so much plan in the renewals space as well as capital, how can we ensure that next year that there are a few things waiting in the wings maybe to be picked up if things get delayed or we can't do stuff? Because I know I keep going on about the debt ceiling, but at least trying to get, is it local projects in or something? I would just hate to be under by, a couple $100 million or something like that. But it doesn't sound like it's going to be that large. But I just want to know how we can ensure that there's always a pipeline in the window with maybe some of our contracts that have more program or things like that.
With respect, I think that's a Jim question, and I know that's one thing that he has on his list of things that he needs to do. So maybe he just have a quick chat with him. But I know that he's agreed to the delivery of the program, so he must have confidence that it's able to happen.
And just brief comment, Madam Chair, I won't speak in the main. Just want to back up what Councillor Philippine and Councillor Cooper and others have said. I think we just need to be careful when we do. I know we're speaking, around the table to different audiences, but when we say keep pushing on that 120, even though we've completed it, and I know that's been explained, but that does raise up the ears of staff. And when we know we are losing a number of staff to Kāinga Ora and other government agencies because they can pay more, and we know that we are losing staff to private, especially in the consenting space and other areas because they can pay more and have better, potentially, other working conditions. I would just hate that we send a message through staff again that we're looking for more savings, and in their mind that could be staff or the lack of pay rise or things like that. So just making sure that we explain to staff what that is rather than just always celebrating the savings, because that can send a lot of nervousness if people think, well, this is, what's happening this year.
I think you'll find the end of year report will have all that information on it for you. Okay? Give you confidence around that. Right, any comments around? Yes, Councillor Watson.
Just a final question on point 4 to do with the greater the revenue loss essentially not being as much as expected. I wonder if you could just explain to me in terms of that regulatory revenue and consenting volumes. I thought it always kind of operated on, basically a cost recovery mode. Am I to read from that there's a kind of, charge on top of that or revenue on top of the cost of employing people, especially if they're consultants?
Through you, Chair, that's correct. I think it is noted in the dashboard as well. There is an indicator in the dashboard that the costs for regulatory are unfavourable to budget, which aligns with the cost recovery model that's operated. So higher costs, higher revenue, but there's also higher costs for regulatory services as well.
And just in terms of, and I'm thinking particularly of the building industry where we have standard charges for inspections and things like that. Now, are those charges largely based on cost recovery too, or is there another element that's added to that?
Councillor, I might have to come back to you on that one specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Is that okay, Councillor? Yeah. So the regulatory rate basically evens itself out. Any comments? Well, I'll move then the recommendation that we receive our update, seconded by Deputy Chair. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Aye. Carried. Thank you. Right, now we go to item 11, which is explore